Welcome to Figures Podcast. In today's episode, we will be talking to various students from the Lassonde Institute of Entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Chris Jones.
Well, we're here at the Lassonde Institute, and we're about ready to interview one of their entrepreneurs that was recommended to us by the university and the institute itself. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to provide the introduction, if you don't mind.
Cool, yeah. My name is William Pepper. I'm a junior here at the business school, and right now I own Park, which is the Airbnb of parking, and I'm starting here at Lassonde. So,
Perfect. Well, let's talk a little bit about what that business is and how it came to be.
Yeah, so Park, like I said before, is like the Airbnb of parking. And essentially, home and business owners can rent out any unused parking spaces. Mm-hmm. So it started out as a pain point as myself as a student, and many other college students can relate to this, where parking is so difficult to find on campus, and any kind of event. So I was finding parking, and I couldn't find parking, and I was parking at these random places, and I would get so many tickets. And then I finally got the parking permit, and I ended up finding no parking spots because after 9 a.m., all the spots are full. So from then I tried to find other solutions, and I parked at 7-Eleven, which is across campus, and they always have a spot open. And I found out that all these homes right next to the gas station also always open. So I was like, I'd rather just pay these houses. I'd rather just pay this business because a spot is guaranteed. And I looked up for other parking solutions, and they do have a couple of parking apps, but most of them are really small and they're not really functionable. And from there, I was wanting to create my own solution, which is where Park was kind of born.
So when you first got that going, what was the inspiration to go and build an app?
Right, yeah. So from there, I was like, does this already exist? And how could we make this functionable? And I went door to door on game day, and I spoke to all these houses, and they rent out these spots already only on game day. But the thing is, there's no way to do it every day, and there's no way to promote it so people could know. So I wanted to build some kind of platform that's automated and making sure that both sides they can do it easily, but also make money, and it's easily done.
Okay, so you have a partner, is that correct?
Right, yeah, his name is Gino Kim.
Okay, and how did you guys come to get together and decide to do this together?
Right, this is why I'm pro parties, especially when you're in college, because I met him at a Halloween party.
Okay.
And then it was just, he was wearing this funny shark outfit, and then I was just talking to him, what do you do? Oh, I just graduated, I'm a developer. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I didn't really know what to do with that information until I had the idea for Park. And then I met up with him, and from there we've just been working together for almost a year and a half, 2 years now.
So when you first launched it, you obviously had to get people aware of it. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so the first time I went around and went door to door, I collected about 60 to 70 or 80 emails of people that were interested in signing up. And we did this initial email blast to let everyone know, hey, our app is out. And then I also promoted on my own social media. And I've been able to build a pretty large network on social media and kind of blast it out to anyone who was in Utah.
Okay, so you were talking to me a little bit prior to this interview about that journey in building out your social media presence. Will you talk a little bit about that and how it's translated to this business?
Yeah. So social media is something that I just did for fun. I started this meme page, and I started posting random stuff to show my friends back home, and I started getting really into it. And I started learning how to grow an Instagram page and building a pretty decent community. And I was spending about 10 hours on Instagram learning how the Explore page works, learning which hashtag works, and how to grow that page. And within 6 months, I grew my page from 0 to 100,000 followers.
That's amazing. Okay. And then of those, what's the conversion rate over to the app?
Yeah, so I've only done it one time because we're starting off in Utah. And the hard part about social media is that my audience is pretty spread out. It's mainly in the US, but I have some in Australia and the UK. And from there, I just did one little story post, and we already got about 200 or 300 downloads out from there. Okay,
perfect. So obviously advertising has to be a component of it to get people aware of the app and aware of the ability to rent spaces. Where are you doing that?
Yeah, so
what platforms?
That's kind of the hard part in which we're still trying to figure out. But so far, we've utilized pretty much everywhere that has a big following in Utah. So we've used KSL, we've used Facebook Marketplace, and we've also targeted Instagram pages with a large Utah following. There's a bunch of pages on Instagram with like 10, 20,000 followers where almost 100% of its audience is in Utah. So reaching out to those places and just kind of communicating with them.
Okay, and those social media platforms, are you allowed to share within their community, or do you typically have to get permission from them?
Normally you have to reach out, and if it's a Instagram page and it's owned by someone, you hey, like how much do you charge for like a post? Just post about park. Or if it's a Facebook group, you just join, and then it's important to do it in like an organic way, you know? Just because you don't want to join there and seem like you're just trying to sell them something. You want to join and like make sure that like, no, I actually am a part of this community, but also here's park, you know, this little side thing, right?
Sure.
So yeah.
So you mentioned that part of your journey as an entrepreneur started even before the app, right? And I believe you mentioned that you were doing some social media advertising for somebody. Can you talk about that a little bit? Do you mind?
Like I said before, I was growing this meme page, and I was doing it for fun, but what I didn't realize was I was building these foundation of this like very valuable skill set in which I knew how to grow a community and like retain people's attention. And like I mentioned before, I like joined Jimmy O Yang's live. He was on Instagram Live, and I just joined randomly. And then we just spoke for like 30 seconds about like Asian food in Utah.
Okay.
And then it was so random, like we didn't even talk about social media. But then the next day, that was enough for him to know my name. And then when I reached out in his DMs and said, hey, if you ever need help with social media, I'm your guy. I'll do it for free for the first month, and we'll see where it goes. And I started working on his TikTok, and he had about 300,000 followers. And from there, I blew it up to now it's at 2.5 million.
It's amazing.
Over the past year or so.
Okay, and how'd you do that?
Yeah, so he had this Amazon special stand-up, and I would just take clips, optimize them for TikTok, make it vertical, add captions, add the right hashtags, and the key thing is finding the right time to post certain things. So like one day, this anime hashtag was trending, and he had this super funny like joke about anime, and oh my god, this is so perfect. And I was able to post that, and it ended up getting like 10 million views or something, which like blew up his account too, and it's like a win-win for everyone.
That's pretty amazing. Okay, so how did you take some of those learning lessons and then apply it to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so that's the hard part, right? It's like we're able to see certain things and apply them to park. But essentially, the foundations of it is the same. You're building a community, and park is, especially park, it's this marketing, it's like two-sided marketplace where you need the supply, but you also need the demand. And it's like reaching out to these people and putting in the work one-on-one to go door to door if you have to, or on social media, leveraging and finding the right communities with the right target audience to reach out to.
So what is critical mass for this business? I mean, how do you get it up to a point where you don't have to do that door to door, you know, kind of groundwork?
Right, and I think that's the hard part, right? Because in the beginning, you kind of have to do that, right? And as you scale, it's going to be really expensive to hire door to door people. But I think the key thing is figuring that out and creating a blueprint, which is why I'm not going super hard by just spamming it everywhere on Instagram, because I want to figure out all the problems of park and all the issues and all the possible solutions in Salt Lake City first. And if we're able to nail that down on a blueprint, from there, when we scale, it'll be much easier, because when we scale and all these problems come up, it's going to be a lot more difficult to fix them. So it's kind of starting off small and slowly growing, I think, is the key thing.
Okay, so earlier when we were speaking to one of the co-founders of the Institute, we talked about how businesses are formed and how they kind of walk you through the process of doing that. And I really wanted him to differentiate between, you know, the guys that can't come in and are sole proprietors versus people that set up businesses. What, you know, how did you guys do that? Did you transition at some point into that?
I know nothing about business, and I didn't know anything about tech or anything. The most I knew was like I watched Silicon Valley, and I was like, oh, I can do that, right?
That's a hilarious show, by the way.
Yeah, it's so funny. But when I joined Get Seated, I had nothing but an idea. And I used to have the picture, but it's this super like, you know, it looked like a third grade school project, this like science fair cardboard thing. And I used like the glue stick, and there was like cookies and stuff. I knew nothing. But because of park, in the past year, I feel like I've accelerated my education by like 4 years or something, right? Because I had to learn how to set up an LLC. I had that to talk about my co-founder about equity. And then we even got approached by like Park City Angels, and we pitched to them and finding out like what is a valuation, you know, like how much should we take and how much should we raise for our seed round. And it's this process of, and then in that process, I've gotten to like know and become friends with a lot of other founders. And my like network has grown so much, and just learning from them, speaking to them and asking them questions, I've learned so much over the past year.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you've had a wonderful success with it too.
I think we've entered pretty much every single competition that Lassonde offers at least once, and we've lost a good amount of them, but we also won a good amount of them. And there's no like, it's not about success, it's more about learning and just becoming better every day, I think, for me.
So can you talk a little bit about some of the failures you had?
The first time, so I applied to get seeded the first time, and we won that one, and I was kind of on like a high, right? Like, oh my God, this is so fun. And then we applied to Opportunity Quest, and then we got top 5, and we lost that one, and that was like a bit crushing. And I was like, man, I was kind of down on myself. But man, I thought we had something good here, but you know, we lost. That must mean Park is not good. But then I was like, you know what? Let me just get back on my feet, and failing, I think, kind of propelled me forward, in the sense that like nothing really dictates my value other than myself.
Sure.
And it's learning that failing is a part of the process, because in each failure I've learned so much. And even pitching to investors is one of the scariest things you can do, because we won the Governor's Economic Summit, and I spoke in front of 600 people there, and that was fine.
Sure.
But when I was spoken in front of like a group of like 10 investors, I was like, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I was like stuttering, and I didn't know what I was saying. And that was like, I would say that was like one of my failures. But the cool thing is that after they reached out to me, one of them, and now we're actually friends now, and they're like, hey, you don't have a lot of experience, but you seem like everyone there could sense your like authenticity, and like they could tell that you're real, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just kind of learning and figuring things out as you go.
Well, that's great. So did you take seed money?
Right, yeah. So right now, everyone's kind of scared because of COVID. And then they're like, oh, there's no events, there's like nothing happening. And the things that they offered they wanted a lot for where we're at now. And I was like, let's just stay back and just continue building Park. Therefore, if we don't want to give up such a huge chunk of our company, because in the future that might actually lead to our failure, because that's something that you can't really take back.
Right.
So just being patient, I think, is what we're doing right now.
Well, good for you. So what's the future? What does that look like for you?
There's a couple of things that I'm doing right now that I'm trying to figure out. And you know, I'm still pretty young, I'm still 21, and the biggest thing for me is just learn as much as possible. And through Park, whatever happens with Park, I'm very, very happy with however things go, because like I said before, I accelerated my education by years, right? And Park, we're gonna be continue building it. We're gonna be promoting it, and as soon as COVID's over, we're actually partnering up with the U, with this college, and we're gonna be managing all their sporting events. So we're gonna have actual like Park spots on the stadium campus, and we're partnering up with a couple of sporting complexes as well. So it's just kind of
like Ticketmaster for parking spots, huh?
Exactly, yeah, Ticketmaster for parking spots. So you know, it's just kind of like making sure our product works really well, and figuring out and just running like this pilot phase before the big events come back, and that's where we'll be really succeeding, I think.
Well, you've done a great job so far from everything that we hear, and obviously the people at the Institute are pretty impressed by what you guys have accomplished. So yeah, man, I just encourage you to continue with your journey on it, because I think it's really going to make a positive impact for you in your future. One thing that people really kind of forget about is that entrepreneurs fail a lot, but when they succeed in a way that allows them to have more work-life balance, right?
Right.
It's very contrary in terms of thought. Most people say, okay, well, if I start a business, I'm going to be working my ass off. And the truth is, yeah, you're absolutely going to work your ass off.
Right.
But in the end of the day, once you build that business up or build that idea up and that thing becomes successful, it provides you with a lot more liberties and the ability to do things that people that work for others don't have the opportunity to do.
Right, because I think the whole conception of entrepreneur is kind of wrong. I think as a kid, I told myself I would never become like a business owner, because my parents own this nail salon, And after school, I get off at 3, and from 4 to 9, I would have to work the front desk and give people waters. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like, I do not want to be an entrepreneur, like working all this time. But then as I got older, I kind of met other friends and figured out, no, an entrepreneur is anyone that creates something for themselves. You're not limited to a brick and mortar business, or like, I mean, you can still do that, which is super cool, but like, there's so many definitions of that. And basically, anyone that's able to turn something that they love, like a passion, into a career, you're an entrepreneur. You're like creating, you're doing things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and there's a certain amount of fulfillment you won't get otherwise, right?
Right. Yeah, it's super cool.
Cool. Well, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, man. Where do you get that jacket? I love it.
You know what? This is a Dillard special.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, I appreciate your time today, and please look for this on the podcast. We'll let you know when it's being released, okay?
Of course, let me know, man. I'll be the first one to like listen. I hate hearing my own voice, but I'm
you know
super
what's
excited.
amazing? Even when you hear it recorded, you're not going to love it, but it doesn't bother other people.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you for joining us today. This is our second interview here at the Lassonde Institute. We're very interested in learning a little bit more about this entrepreneur who is involved in SaaS-based technology. What I'm going to go ahead and do is allow him to introduce himself really quick and a little bit about his business.
Thank you, Chris. So my name is Viral. I'm co-founder and CTO of Hello GM. At Hello GM, what we do is we empower hoteliers to maximize their profitability. Unlike most traditional hotel softwares, which focus on doing accounting and leisure, I would be honest to say they do good job at that. But what they don't do is help hotel perform better, and that's where we focus. Regardless of size and scale of hotel, Hello GM is for everybody.
Okay, perfect. So those of you who don't know or understand what a SaaS-based system is, can you please give us a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, sure. So SaaS, probably most of you would be aware, SaaS means software as a service. So basically, in traditional way, service was only provided by humans and people. Now in this era of information technology, software can also provide you service. With the advent of data science, now software can also make really good decisions for you, and that's where SaaS comes into the picture.
Okay, and I'm assuming it can track those performance matrices as well?
Yes, it can continuously track your performance. As a human, we can track our performance maybe daily, weekly, or monthly. But software, because they are machine, they track every second, every minute.
It's real time, huh?
Yes.
So what are some of the real world challenges that these hoteliers face in their businesses?
So the biggest challenge in the hotel is like the availability of tools. Today, if we talk about technology, we talk about big data, data science, but how many hotels really use this technology to help their business? I would say less than 1% of hotels. That is because these technologies, although are very sophisticated and advanced, they are still very expensive, and not many small businesses have that kind of capital to invest in. And that's where we are focusing. We are building a product that is not only very cost effective, but it's also very efficient in a way it works. So it can be used by businesses of any size and any scales. We do hotels because we know that business really well, but we have plans to get into restaurants and gas stations as we spoke.
Well, that's really interesting. So if you're looking at really creating optimization and real-time data for these hotels, how do you go about addressing what KPIs are needed?
Mm-hmm. So even before we dive into KPIs, we have to talk about all the systems which are involved in hotels. Any typical hotelier will deal with property management system, which is very specific to brand. Imagine you have 5 hotels, 5 different brands, you will have 5 different types of PMS. You will have time and labor system where you track all your labor data. You will have accounting system where you track how your revenues and deposits in your bank look like. You will have third-party reservation systems, online reviews. So you are dealing with plenty of systems as a hotelier. Now to track all these KPIs, if you are doing it manually, you have to go to all these systems, collect data in routinely basis, and apply some science, have dedicated team that crunches data and generate KPI for you. In Hello GM, what we do is we build integration with all these systems, most of the time automated data transfer from these systems, and automatically generate these KPIs. Now coming to the question of how we decide what KPIs are important. Hotel business has been in market for many decades. People know what KPIs are important. For example, RevPAR, ADR, how much their cost is per occupied room, like CPOR. Those are some of the very standard KPIs that hoteliers still struggle to find the right value for them, and that's where we focus on. We have our own certain KPIs also, which are very specific to HaloGM, which we think helps track your performance even more advanced way than those traditional KPIs. So we have list of KPIs that we generate and track.
So with your centralized platform and the fact that you've got all these multiple other platforms, how do they connect?
So it's
and
very
do they
interesting.
Connect in different ways?
It's very interesting. So I would not like to name the brand, but there is a very high-end brand that exists in the market for past, I would say, 5 decades, and their software is built in late 70s, and that's the software they still use. So we are talking about integrating with variety of softwares which are built in different time span and have different capabilities. So at HaloGM we invested decent amount of time and skills to build the integration with all these varieties of software. So HaloGM can integrate with probably anything, or I would say everything, that can export data out in any format. Today we have reports coming in PDF, RTF, plain text, API, XML, CSV, all sort of reports that get ingested into HaloGM, and our engine can understand what kind of report it is and crunch the data, extract it out, and store in discrete manner in the system.
Oh, that's great. So then obviously you don't need to log into all those other systems. Is that a fair assessment? Other than maybe your accounting software?
That's correct. So HaloGM provides you one login solution to see everything at one place.
And then this is exactly where these people can actually look at their performance over time and see that your system will actually help support them in making good business decisions. Is that right?
Exactly, and we take step further because we don't only show data, but we also generate insight. So let's say if one of your room was sold at lower price than desired price, HaloGM will flag it. It got sold for lesser price. So management can take action on it, like why it got sold, and they can immediately take corrective measures to reduce this kind of instances to happen. So this is just one of the example. The other example includes, like, we had just last week one of our client call us and thank us because HaloGM saved them $3,000. $3,000 batch was not closed, and if batch is not closed, credit card processors won't deposit that money into your bank account, and after maybe few weeks or months, it will be rolled back. So you literally lost that money. So those kind of things happen on routinely basis, and it is really, really hard for any hotelier to track it manually.
Okay, so question for you: when we're really looking at entrepreneurs, we oftentimes wonder where the origins came from. So you obviously have a little bit of a story, and it's a unique story too, right? So could you talk about where you started, how you ended up really evaluating hotels as the target?
Sure, yeah. So I would like to take ourselves back to maybe 2018, 2019, when we were still working as a full-time IT professionals with pretty decent paying jobs.
You and your partner?
Yes.
Okay.
So Dhaval and I, we are 2 co-founders at HaloGM, and we both have IT background. We had decent, good paying jobs, and I would say we were happy with what we were doing. But at the same time, we were also small business owners, and we knew that we have challenges in running those businesses. I had investment in a couple of restaurants, and Dhaval had investment in a couple of hotels, and we had those challenges witnessed, and we realized that although IT is advancing, this big data is coming into picture, large corporations are investing a lot of time and labor in advancing their data science capabilities, small businesses are actually left behind. And being a small business owners, we felt probably that's the area we should target, and that's how idea of HaloGM took birth. We started with hotels because we felt we knew a lot about hotels, and we had personally experienced like how hotels operate and what kind of challenges we face. Especially my business partner Dhaval knew what is the first use case that needs to be solved, and that's where we started building Halogy.
Some of the challenges with small businesses, at least from my experience, has been that those systems, if they're not built out enough, that the entrepreneur themselves has a really hard time keeping up with them from a cost perspective and a technology perspective. How do you address that?
Yeah, so our approach is like, we most of the time do not have our clients change anything. All that we need is start using HaloGM. So let's say our particular XYZ hotel is using Homebase for their time and labor. We integrate with Homebase. We do not ask them to switch to our time and labor system.
Do you offer one?
Yeah, so we have partnership with Latham, and we provide PayClock as default time and labor tracking system. But our clients do not necessarily have to move to Latham PayClock system. They can, today we integrate with 10 different time clock system. So they can have ADP, they can have Homebase. Homebase is actually highly used system today. They can use many other systems, and we simply integrate with them. So that is the minimal resistance point for our client. Like if they do not have to change anything, it is easy for them to add new things to them. Now, when we integrate with all this system, we also ensure that our clients do not have to go to 10 different systems. Although they use those 10 systems, they can just log into HaloGM and see everything together.
Okay, so there is some data reporting issues whenever you connect systems together. It doesn't extend to the design of your system. Also has to do with the actual information that's being pushed, right? So how do you fix some of those issues?
Yes, so very good question. So we are essentially data analytics platform. So we do a lot on detecting inconsistencies in the data. So be it some XYZ time and labor system, when we fetch data and we see any inconsistency, we flag them in our system. Okay. So at least our clients have opportunity to go back and get it fixed. Lot of time, lot of problems just goes undetected and eventually turn into big problem, big mess later point of time. So we are very picky about it. Anything that is inconsistent, we immediately flag. Let's say particular XYZ employee didn't clock in to time clock, but had statistics entered for rooms cleaning data. Now, how could that happen? If particular employee hasn't come and not punched the time clock and still they clean the room, we flag in HaloGM. Like this employee has cleaned the room but hasn't entered any time and labor data.
Gotcha. So it's also an employee management system to some degree.
Yes. So our idea is we don't reinvent the wheel. If there is something out there doing their job really well, what we do is we plug with that and add extra capabilities to it. Our focus is build a software that gives the data science and data analytics capability to hoteliers, and anything that is not in the market, we build it. But if there is something out there, for example, QuickBooks has proven to be the great accounting software, and we don't want to build accounting software, we just plug with QuickBooks to manage all the accounts for our clients.
Sure, makes sense. And then obviously if they're using other platforms like Peachtree or any of these others, you can plug into those as well.
Right.
And you guys have already done all that like kind of base groundwork so it's quick for you.
Yeah, we have probably, I may not have exact number, but I would easily say we integrate with about 100 different kind of softwares in HaloGM.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, is there different agreements that you have to have with those different platforms to do that?
So good thing about this integrations is it very much depends on how we are integrating. So let's say, for example, if we are integrating with QuickBooks, of course we have partnership agreement with them. But if there is some software where client has access to automated reporting, we do not have to really go to that company and build the agreement. Clients can route those automated reports to our system, and our system is capable enough to, it's really AI too. A lot of people say us, there are so many companies talk about AI, but there are very few companies really do AI. We do AI. What we do is, moment any report comes, we detect which company it has come from, what kind of report it is, and what kind of data it is. And then we pass it through our shredding engine, extract the data out and store it in our system. So depending on which way we are integrating with system, we have to either go through partnership route or otherwise just simply integrate with client.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about when you actually launched the product and some of the hiccups that you had during that process.
Yes, so very first, I believe startups, some of especially same category startups, if we talk about SaaS startups, they have similar kind of hiccups. The very first hiccup you see is you end up choosing the most cost effective hosting provider, and then you realize it is costing you a lot because your application is going down more often. So I still remember I would get call from DJ. So I call my business partner DJ Dhaval. He was in India and he would call me like night 2 a.m. You know, our application is down. There could be one of our client traveling to India and checking the data and may see login error. So I would wake up, log into my terminal, start the server. Second problem that we generally see as a startup is there are people who are engineers, have great ideas, can build great products, but they don't know how to build great companies. So that was the challenge we had. We knew we have a good product, it is right market fit, but we didn't know how to build the company out of it. And that's where we felt we might need some kind of accelerator program. For example, Y Combinator, which is very well known in West Coast. And that's when we got idea about MBC. Okay. And I would say MBC has been great help in converting our product into profitable venture.
Okay. When you say MBC?
A Master of Business Creation at
Okay,
University
sorry,
of
I'm getting a little bit confused. There's a lot of acronyms around it.
Yes.
So when you guys started launching it, I mean, obviously you needed to get your first handful of customers. Did you already have an in to get those? How did you do that?
So we were, I would say, a little bit lucky there because we picked the industry we knew well. Not only the industry, but we knew some of the friends and family members who are invested into hotels. So it was easy for us to get our first 10 clients and try our software. We gave them for free initial few months and they tried our first use case and they loved it. And that's where our iterative cycle started. Now they will use our product, they will tell us, you know, you could also solve this problem because I have this problem. Some XYZ person would come, actually I have these problems. So we started gathering our initial use cases from our friends and family pilot users and started incorporating them and started building the product, which got more and more matured over the time.
Oh, that's great. So you launched your first 10 clients, and then how do you acquire your customers now?
So today we have, so we just recently started our paid media. To be honest, last 1 year, we are just growing organically. We have about 275 hotels using our product right now.
Okay.
And way we acquired is like my partner Dhaval, he has sales experience. So he would just randomly find some hotelier through LinkedIn or Facebook. He'll try to reach out to them, introduce himself try to set up demo. And our strategy is we do not charge our client until they start seeing value. So we first get them on board, start using our software for initial few weeks, and after a few weeks we reach out to them and ask them, is it helping? And most of the time it is helping. We close 2 out of 3 demos we do, and 98% of our clients since the beginning have stayed with us even through the COVID.
Okay, so scalability, that's the next question. How do you plan to scale it? And how do you plan to address that, human portion of it that you need?
Yeah, so we have a pretty good team right now set. From development side, we have development center in India. 3 employees are working there. From account onboarding side, we have account manager here, and we are planning to add couple of more account managers who will be dealing with this kind of deal conversion. So one deal gets converted into a business, they'll be immediately attacking those teams, because in our case decision makers are not actually directly involved managing the systems we integrate with. Like CEO of the company or VP of company would not have even logins to those systems. So once they confirm that this is what something they like, we immediately set a call, our onboarding team, with their general managers or operation team to gather the data about all their systems, and then we remotely log into their systems and configure them to integrate with us. So a lot of systems are like they integrate with us rather than we integrate with them. And on those cases, like within 15 minutes, they are up and running. Now, with respect to scalability, as we grow, we are planning to add more and more onboarding team, because development side we are pretty scalable. Like 3 people team, I think we can go and scale up to 1,000 hotels right now. Account onboarding side, we need couple of more peoples to couple of more account managers, especially to handle this onboarding process to reach to our next milestone of 1,000.
Now, the financial portion of this and how they pay for it, let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm. So we are in SaaS model. It's monthly subscription, and as I mentioned, we are the most affordable software in the market. Subscription starts as low as $150 a month, which is nothing for the hotel. And against that kind of value that we provide, I think we are in a good shape of value proposition.
Now, a lot of companies like yours charge for the initial setup and getting it all configured. Do you guys do that as well?
We don't do that because we believe unless and until our client is not seeing the value, we don't charge them.
So really what you're doing is looking at the lifetime value of that customer rather than the upfront.
Right.
Okay. That's actually really good. I like that.
Yeah, so one of our, we don't have I would say a complete set of our core values, but one very important core value that our entire team works on is customer focused. We are always customer focused. If customer is not happy, there are instances we just let go their subscriptions, and we just don't bill them until they start seeing satisfaction in our product.
So what does the next 5 years look like for you in this journey?
We are right now focused on North America. US and Canada together have 64,000 hotels, and we look to at least acquire 10% of market share. And in next 5 years, we believe this is quite achievable, and that should take our company to at least 12 to 18 million in annual recurring revenue.
Oh, that's great. Well, congratulations on your success so far. I'm sure it'll continue.
Thank you very much.
We're here at the Lassonde Institute with our third interview. What I'm going to go ahead and do is have her introduce herself, and then we're going to talk a little bit about her business and some of the challenges getting it kicked off the ground.
Yeah, so my name is Haley Zimmerman. I am the CEO and founder of Karatepe Kids. The idea started about 2 years ago when I went and volunteered in a refugee camp in Lesbos, Greece.
Okay.
And basically the idea or my goal or mission for the company is to provide lightweight, packable, and portable sleeping solutions for children around the world.
Okay, and a lot of that was driven because of the refugee community that you were involved with during that time?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is there a social mission behind your brand itself?
Yes, so my initial kind of goal is to provide families that travel lightweight, packable, and portable sleeping solutions for their kids, because families here do need that. However, the main goal, of course, is to be able to give back and donate to these families that need it the most, right? Refugees have to, as they're traveling, they have to carry everything they own with them. It's not guaranteed where they may sleep at night. And so, but in order to provide them this product, I need to also sell it to families here that could also use it. Mm-hmm.
So when purchasing this product, you're basically going to be donating a portion of it to refugee camps or refugees in general. How do you plan on getting those funds out?
Yes, so the initial goal right now is to take a percentage of the revenue and basically kind of convert that into actual products that I can donate. And then as the company scales up, I can donate more product. Still trying to figure out the exact percentages right now. But of course, as a beginning business, I'm just trying to figure that out, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, it's pretty admirable that you're willing to put a portion of any earning out there to help somebody else. So good on you. So let's talk a little bit about, kind of the initial process of getting the business started. It sounds like your background is in design. Can you talk about that and then how that translates into what you're doing now?
So my background is in industrial design. I just graduated last year from Brigham Young University with my BFA in industrial design. Basically, when I got home from the refugee camp, I then started my senior year at BYU and was able to spend the next 2 semesters designing a product that would benefit refugee families. So I started prototyping myself using a small little iron and some fabric with TPU backing. Basically did some very small prototypes, not great prototypes, but then was able to go up to a local facility up in Ogden called Climate. They helped me create these larger or kind of full-scale versions of the initial product, which was initially for infants, if that makes sense. So baby is about 0 to 8 months old. And then from there, when I graduated, I realized that I had an idea that I was very excited about and wanted to turn it into a business.
Okay.
So basically around this time last summer or last spring is when I decided that I wanted to turn this into a company, and found out about the MBC program here at the University of Utah. Decided to apply and take this and full on run with it.
So you had a passion about a project or a product, but did you do any market research initially, or did you just have that initial excitement about it?
I did some initial research about 2 years ago. 2 years ago when I first started the project, because I wanted to design something lightweight, packable, and a sleeping product for children. I found a few things on the market, but nothing that I found that was super lightweight and really fit that market. So I did a little bit of research then, and then once I decided to turn this into a full-scale business, that's when I did a little bit bigger of a deep dive into what are current products on the market for even up to toddlers, what's currently there, how much does it cost, how much do they weigh, is there anything that packs down super small, or what is something that I can really do to make a difference.
Okay, well, obviously it looks like you're at the beginning of doing a very good job at that. So now that you've got all the prototyping done and you're waiting, I understand you're waiting on kind of the final one, what's the launch plan?
Yeah, once again, it all depends on manufacturing. I've been working with my manufacturer since about last July.
And just to clarify, you manufacture out of the country, correct?
Yes, currently manufacturing in China.
Okay.
So started that process last July. Just as we just barely mentioned, I received the hopefully second to last prototype about 2 weeks ago. Looks pretty good. So I just barely signed off on making the tooling for that, which will take about 30 to 40 days. So once that's done, then I'll be able to receive about 10 prototypes, do some more user testing, and hopefully do our full-on launch in about the next 2 to 3 months. Kind of once again depends on when I get some product back.
Okay, and let's talk about that launch. How are you going to do that? Are you going to use a platform? Are you going to work with a partner? How are you going to do it?
Yeah, so right now my goal is to launch on a crowdfunding campaign, most likely Indiegogo.
Why did you choose them?
So, as part of the MBC program, we actually had a connection at Indiegogo. We had someone who's on their team who actually came and spoke to us one time. Anyway, very friendly. I've tried to look into Kickstarter before. I've interned for companies that have launched on Kickstarter. I've just heard that it's very difficult to get in touch with them. Indiegogo, however, has been very supportive, and I've met with one of their people a few times actually to talk about my own personal launch plan and what are the different perks that I can do and how can I really utilize their platform to really launch my company successfully.
Okay, now obviously we're at the Lassonde Institute and they have the master's program, which you're a part of. How do they integrate that with some of the other needs you have? You mentioned that you need to do some forecasting. Did they help coordinate with the business school to help you get that accomplished?
Yes. So that's really why I did the MBC program here at the U, is because I had no business background, just product design, but I really wanted to learn about the business side. So through the MBC, I've been able to create a full-fledged financial model, forecast the next 3 years. When do I need cash? What's the cash flow? When do I need loans or potentially investors? When can I hire people, right? I've really mapped that all out. I've also been able to work with one of our marketing professors and create a whole social media launch plan. What's my ad spend? What do I need to really pump into this so I can have a successful launch? So I've really created the whole back end with the MBC.
So you're not planning on utilizing any of the platforms like Shopify or anything like that to get the product out to market?
I will. Okay. So I've already created my Shopify website. Basically what will happen is I'll launch on Indiegogo, and as soon as that ends, then jump to pre-sale on the actual website, and then once the product actually gets here, then we can sort of say fully open up the Shopify platform. So it'll be a fairly smooth transition, is the hope.
Perfect. So how do you see the next 5 years playing out for your business? I know that's a challenging question, but we all want to know.
It's a challenging question, but I think it's a fun question. Because at first, once again, I just had this product idea, which I think is a good idea, but if you don't have an idea for what you want to do in the future, then it's just going to fizzle, or it's just going to be a product. So my goal is to expand into kind of other lightweight children's gear. For example, it could be camping gear, it could be clothes, basically lightweight portable sleeping solutions for kids, if that makes sense. So I'll stay in that genre, but my goal is to launch a few other products, potentially launch different sizes, because currently the main product that I'm launching is for toddlers ages 15 months to 4 or 5 years old. I would love to probably launch the next product to be 5 years old to 10 or 12 years old, and then launch a bunch more products as the company grows.
Okay, so a lot of times when people start companies, they've got a couple different plans, one of which being, hey, I'm going to build this into a mature business and operate it. And then you've got, you know, others that look at exit plans as part of the concept. Have they talked to you about that, and what is your plan there? I mean, have you really looked at that?
Looked at it a little bit. I think it's an interesting question just because I'm just barely trying to start it. Of course, my goal would really just to build a successful company and hire the right people. If there comes a time where I could potentially transition from the CEO role to a VP of design and really just focus on product and have other people work a little bit more on the business side, that would be ideal. Because I love product design, but I also love the entrepreneur side. So as long as I can help build this company and grow it, there could be a time when I want to sell or want to transition into something else. But for now, that's the semi-plan, is stay with it for the next couple of years and hopefully just turn it into something really great.
Well, that's exciting. So you mentioned that you're probably going to be launching the product in
July or August, depends on manufacturing.
Okay, perfect. Well, it's pretty exciting. We'll all be watching out for it. And at the magazine, you know, obviously, hopefully people look at it and say, hey, I want to buy this. So I appreciate you taking time, and it sounds like you have amazing things coming for you.
Thank you. I'm really excited.